Welcome back, frenemies, episode 56. Man, I feel great being back here. I'm your host, Chris, the Black Cat here. And to my right, I got the commish, the brains of the operation, the mad scientist himself, Sean. Sean, thank you for hosting last week, man. You were great.
Oh,
you were
sure.
phenomenal in there.
I like the encouragement, but I do not envy Chris in this hosting gig
I was just
anymore.
telling him, like, man, you got to bring the energy at times. Sometimes it feels awkward, but you got to be, like, all up in it. But you know what? I want to do a little shout-out, special shout-out to our Amish listeners out there. This is a special shout-out to someone I want to call, save his name, I'll call him Captain Amish. This guy is sitting at top of his league, Sean. He is a fantasy football rookie. And guys in the league on draft night were making fun of his draft strategy the whole time. But he's been churning heads. Yes, pun intended. Pun intended there. As he rose to the top of the league. And yes, he's skilled at raising barns, but he has skills also in raising a fantasy football championship, probably all the way to the top of that barn there. So, Captain Amish, I salute to you. You keep churning those heads, and proving those doubters wrong, man. Special to you. I love your beard. Anyways, that goes about 25% of our listeners there, but they'll get it. They'll understand what I'm talking about.
Nice.
Well,
Let's jump into the talk of the town, some news, fantasy football news. I'll talk about my guy Julio here to start. We were talking before they turned the mics on here, and it's been a rough stretch here for the Julio owners, which I've been feeling. And he's got an injury, so I think it's a shoulder injury, and they've listed him as questionable, and it's now came out today that he's looking like a game time decision. So it's going to be one of those you need to pay attention tomorrow. I know it's going to be filling up on turkey, but you need to pull that app up and make sure that he's active. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about if he's not active, are you interested in maybe Russell Gage? That's kind of a lower end piece that maybe...
I'm just not really interested in the Falcons because I don't know what's up with Matt Ryan with that injury, his consistency. I mean, last week...
The
O-line, like... He was projected to be a top in some rankings. Top
I know. Just ask David how painful this last week was.
Beat you, David. Thanks to Matt Ryan's deficiency at QB. So even Ridley or any of the other receivers, you're feeling bad about trying to start them because that quarterback play is just poor. We've seen that affect other wide receivers, but Julio's injury, even if he's injured and he's still out there playing, I think he's affected more off the poor offensive game plan of the Atlanta Falcons, especially Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the other thing that people will struggle with is if he is active, do you start him in the fear of re-injuring the injury? I think that you have to start Julio. I mean, he's capable of a 35-point game for you, and if that's on your bench trying to get into the playoffs, you're going to be very sad. So I think you just have to put him in. He played through it last week. He went into the locker room at halftime and didn't come in till I think midway through the third quarter. Came back into the game, so he obviously can play through it. I would lower your expectations.
Right.
Like, don't expect Julio to win you this week. I mean, if you get a good 5 to 10 points from him, I think that's about as happy as you're going to be, unless he catches a touchdown, which he has not been doing. So,
and it's hard because Julio is a main staple, right?
Yeah,
that's what we call it. You have him, you plug him, you don't bench him at all unless he's on a bye. But it is tough. If you got options to move it around, then you probably already did it.
Yeah.
But if you don't, it's just a hope and a prayer.
And then just quick on the other hand, I actually would be willing to start Russell Gage if he's out. I just think that the Saints are going to rack up that score. This Atlanta defense was exposed again. They're not this amazing defense all of a sudden out of the bye. So I think the Saints score a lot, and then they're going to have to come back, whether it's Matt Ryan or if they switch back to Matt Schaub in a blowout. Either way, Russell Gage will be out there. He got a ton of targets last week when Julio was out. And then you have that, upside of just, when there's that many points being scored in garbage time, it's really easy to just get one of those touchdowns.
Yeah, garbage time is great for PPR players.
Yeah.
Like anyone that's in those leagues, you love it.
Yep.
Because you don't really need that touchdown there. All right, so let's move on to the Chiefs running backs.
Yeah, so the Chiefs running backs, they're all kind of injured, but
No flow in there.
Yeah, that, and then you can't tell the difference. So I just kind of wanted to harp a little bit on what our thoughts are on this backfield, if you can trust any of these options. Like we're going to mention over and over again, this is an extremely important week in the fantasy football community. This is the push for the playoffs. Either you're starting your playoffs next week or the next week. So, I mean, this is going to be important for people to win this game. And with them, I think if it's looking more like Damian Williams is not going to play. He had a rib injury. He looked like he was in extreme pain 2 weeks ago before their bye. Mm-hmm. So I don't expect him to play. Obviously, you got to keep an eye on it. But if he's out, I would be willing to play LaShawn McCoy. He had a concussion scare at the end, but he's not in the protocol. So he'll be out there. And it kind of looks like they're trying to turn it over to him. So I'd be willing to play him. He's playing Oakland. It's a good matchup. With the way Oakland looked last week, they could be, the Chiefs could boat race him and then just run the ball with LaShawn McCoy. So I'd be willing to start him. Darrell Williams, if you're in a really deep league, he's somebody that's become that third down back when Damian Williams isn't in there. So if you're a PPR deep league, you can probably pick up an okay flex spot for him, probably on waivers right now.
Yeah, shady owners are liking how it's fallen down, like how it's really coming together for them these last week or two here.
Yeah.
With the injury, and we go back to that benching of LaShawn McCoy, and then how he came back and played pretty well in there. So it does kind of like, okay, maybe it was a rest day. Maybe there wasn't too much of the fumble concern there. But I believe Shady's going to be a bigger point in this offense because Kansas City has to figure it out. Yeah. They've had some bad games here lately, so I think he's going to be a big reason they might start winning some ball games here toward the end.
All right, then we got Drew Lock. We don't know yet. There's not been an official. I mean, by the time you listen to this, it may be official, but it's kind of trending toward it looks like he may make his first NFL start.
Yes.
Broncos quarterback, rookie that they drafted in the second round.
Beat writers put out a little thing today saying, these might be signs of him starting this Sunday. And today's Wednesday in our recording, so we'll see what that looks like. But I'm excited to see that.
Okay, so that's what I was going to... For fantasy, we want to know what's this going to do for our fantasy options. So you're probably looking at maybe Noah Fant, Phillip Lindsay, possibly Royce Freeman, and then Cortland Sutton. Those are probably the only fantasy relevant options that anyone's playing on the Broncos. So if Drew Lock is in, do you think it's an upgrade, a downgrade, kind of status quo?
It's so hard because we didn't really we're not going off of anything else about Drew Lock. The safe bet is upside for the running backs. Captain check down, run the ball safe.
Yeah.
When Brandon Allen first came in, and it was quarterback in there, the running backs carried him all the way.
Yeah.
It seemed like. And then he started throwing a little more. I'd be scared about Noah Fant and Cortland Sutton.
Yeah.
But look what Sutton's been doing with Brandon Allen. Because he's the only target. So
and he's a great receiver, but I'm a little scared, and we'll get into it later, but I've got a couple of those guys as my start and sits here. So, and then Chris Carson. I know the Tidewater Turtles has been feeling the wrath of the fumbles lately.
This guy just can't hold on to the ball.
I know, and it's a bad offense to do it in because Pete Carroll does not like that. He's not one of those coaches that's just like, you know what, you'll be good. Get back in there.
Rashad Penny came in and had a huge run.
That's the other side of it.
A touchdown. It could turn on him.
Yeah. So I think I believe it's still Chris Carson's job. If I had to put money on who the starting running back will be, who will be the better fantasy option this coming week, I think Carson, he went back in the game. He did get carries. But I think he's someone you can still play, but you obviously have to be, careful with that upside being, or that downside being that he could get benched. And if Penny's playing well, I mean, Pete Carroll is a hot hand kind of guy.
He's going to stay with him. And that sucks for Carson owners. I own Chris Carson in one of my leagues as well.
And, you thought you had, a running back stud for the playoffs, and it's getting a little sketchy.
In the doghouse, I think Carson he'll still be the lead back of the first drive.
Yeah.
And then
he'll probably be the goal line back. He's the bigger guy.
Yes. But it's going to be, there's a lot of pressure there. Some guys can rise up to the pressure. Yeah. Some of them might be so much in their head that they won't get going on the field, and then they're going to pull them, and fantasy owners are going to be so mad, especially this week. No more buys. This is your full lineup in. You got to be ready to rock and roll.
Yep.
If your RB1's benched, bye-bye playoffs.
Yeah, but I'd say you still got to start him. That would be my advice. I mean, unless you have really good options at running back, you're still going to have to play
Running
him.
backs are so bad this year that Carson's going to be in someone's lineup.
Yep.
You're just hoping that he holds on to the rock that come
Yeah,
Monday night
and
against
he
a
may
good run
have,
defense.
that kind of I want to prove myself mentality, and you may get a blow-up game from him. I would not be surprised if he had a huge game.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a high-risk situation.
It's concerning going into Monday night. Yeah.
Yep. All right, well, let's get into the party question here.
Ian, would you like to go to a party in my pants?
No, Brick.
I don't know why I laugh every
All
time.
right, let's go.
All right, so this is our party question segment. Sean, what's our party cue for this week?
All
I think
right,
it's
so-
kind of themed based here, but it's fine.
Yeah, just a little
Just
bit.
a little bit.
So Thanksgiving is tomorrow for
What?
Yeah, so I love Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving
That's
is
awesome.
it's like the start of Christmas. It's an amazing kickoff for it, and no pun intended with how much football gets played
yeah.
on Thursday. But I kind of wanted to go through some traditions or memories that we've had, just some fun memories of Thanksgiving. And I'll go ahead and kick it off here first. My family is like extremely tradition centered. That's what they are big on.
I believe it.
starting all these traditions and
Been
like
around Christmas parties with them. I believe it.
so. I have a couple here. We do a thing during Christmas time. We will actually make each other gifts, and so Thanksgiving is our name drawing time. So when dinner's all over, we all pull out the hat, throw some names in there, and then you pass it around. You'll pull a name out. It's also just fun for the drama to see who my dad is going to get, because he is like a master carpenter. I mean, he will never admit to this, but he is fantastic
Can you
at
slip
he
my
helped
name
us
in the
build,
hat?
this studio here.
Yes, he
basically.
did. Yeah, his skill is pretty much never. Yeah.
So
You
it's
can't see
always
it.
like you're like hoping your name doesn't get called because we go in order of age. So he's last. So it's like, can you outlast until dad picks, and then you get the amazing gift. I mean, he's made
Oh, man.
we have an entry table in our house that he made my wife. He's made a chair. He's made a whole huge computer desk.
Can I be adopted into your family? Just the holiday seasons.
Come on over. More the merrier, Chris.
I'm gonna rig it. You know, put like my name in like a couple times.
There you go. Maybe I'll slip one in there and they'll be
There
like,
we go.
Chris, who's Chris?
Don't worry, Dad. Don't worry.
He likes football, the Vikings.
There
just-
you go. It's a shopping list he gave you. Want to make for him.
Black Friday is another tradition that's kind of been over the last couple of years here.
And do you start? Sorry, going. Do you start Thursday night for Black Friday, or you're a purist and you wait till Friday morning to get on the road and go?
So we've kind of moved it a little more to the Friday night thing. We're getting older. I don't want to be up till 5 in the morning.
Oh, you mean Thursday night? You mean?
Yeah. So
Okay.
on Thursday night, we'll go out, after all the festivities are done, we'll go out and hit those sales. I'm actually been disappointed in it lately. I feel like it's dying.
Yeah.
Cyber Monday is definitely taking over.
Oh yeah.
So, and then the last one is just the obvious, the Turkey Bowl. I'm sad because we don't really do this anymore, but I definitely growing up, we had, the neighborhood Turkey Bowl. We would have flag football game every Thanksgiving, send the texts out. Let's head out there and play some, turkey. It's so much fun to do that and then go and eat your Thanksgiving meal.
Yeah, I was about to ask you either before or after the turkey meal.
So my family does actually what would be
okay.
considered a very late Thanksgiving dinner. So we don't eat till like 6 or 7.
Tell you, if I had to eat my turkey dinner before my turkey bowl, I'm definitely an all-time quarterback.
And that's the advantage that I would always have. My family didn't eat dinner till 6, and these
Okay.
kids are coming in with their food comas, and
Yeah.
I'm burning them. So that's a good segue to yours here. Some football.
Oh yeah, mine is straight food coma. That's my tradition. I have a Filipino mother that does not know when to stop making food. Oh my goodness! So we would eat and eat and eat and eat like crazy, but it was watching football all day. I don't come from a tradition-based type of family where we do all the stuff but we don't really mind that. Like going in, we'll sometimes have some people over, but that TV is on. Even if I'm helping in the kitchen preparing, you always started off with the Thanksgiving Day parade. That always goes up there. I take a really good pregame snooze during the dog show thingy. I love dogs, but that show is boring. And then I wake up and it's football time.
Yeah.
All day long. When they added more games onto it, I was like, shoot, yeah, let's keep going.
Yep.
So that's pretty much my only tradition on Thanksgiving Day.
Alrighty, well, let's move on into our fantasy football Tinder.
Hey,
You're late.
how you doing?
I know, right? Take a week off and I forget the line. All right, so this is our fantasy football dinner. Sean said we're looking outside the top 15 in the running back and wide receiver position. Swiping right if we like them. If we want to start them, swiping left, we say take a back seat.
Yep.
And Sean, we're going right to you in the running back spots. You got some pretty interesting picks here.
Yeah, I've got some scary picks. I know it's rough out there. You're trying to make playoffs. Hopefully I don't steer you wrong here, but this is a guy I traded for in a league last week. Philip Lindsay. He's got a pretty good schedule coming up.
Yeah.
He started to really take over the backfield. It was really kind of an even split between him and Royce Freeman earlier on this year. I think through the bye week, the coaches realized, okay, this is our most talented back. We might need to get him a little more touches. He's had 16 plus touches for 2 straight weeks here coming out of the bye. And then on top of that, he gets to play the Chargers, who is the 26th ranked defense against running back. So it's a good matchup. I know it's been kind of rough. He's hasn't gotten a touchdown in a while, so it kind of makes it look like his stat line's not been great, but he's got a good yards per carry. I think he's been up near like 80 yards per week. So if you're going to get that, and then kind of like you mentioned earlier, if Drew Lock's in there, you may get a couple more of those check downs, the coaches drawing up plays that, put him in a good situation, which would be, throwing some screens to Philip Lindsay.
Well, and a couple of the last few teams that played the Chiefs, the Chargers, have been feasting off Phillip River interceptions.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of short fields there where you just turn to the run game.
Yep.
So that can be really Philip Lindsay's wheelhouse there of just scoring.
Yep. And then my sit, so I'm going to swipe left on Devonta Freeman. So this is a hard one because everybody's been holding him and waiting. I have him in a couple leagues, and you've been trying to fill that spot. But I have a feeling that whoever you've gotten to replace him over these last couple of weeks is a better option this week. He's coming off the injury. He's an injury-prone guy. I'm a little scared. It's a Thursday night, or is it Thursday night? I think it might be the Thursday night game. Anyways, It's on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to make this decision pretty
Thursday night,
early.
yeah.
And I think the Saints defense has just been completely stalemating any running back.
Yeah.
So I'm just afraid that, people are going to want to put him right back in there. And I think we need to see it for a week. I know may not be able to afford to be able to do that because this is the week you got to get in. But I have a league where I think I'm going to start like a Benny Snell or something over him. I'm just too afraid of how much of his workload will actually be if he's on a snap count.
Yeah, so I throw this to you.
All right.
This time of the league here, if this in the season, this time of the season fantasy, handcuffs.
Yes.
You know where I'm going here. Brian Hill, most guys probably picked him up because of Freeman's injuries.
Yes.
Who do you start out of those two on Thursday night?
I would definitely start Devonta Freeman if those are my only two options.
Okay, so you're still going to go with him over...
Yeah, I'm not saying you absolutely cannot start Devonta Freeman, but if you are, let me go down the list of a few people here. So I'll pull up this week's schedule, some running backs. Snell is a guy, like I had already mentioned. He's kind of taken over in Pittsburgh. They've moved on from the Jalen Samuels experience. It looks like the running back of choice is going to be Snell. So, if you've got somebody like a Jonathan Williams you picked up, I would start him over Devonta Freeman. If you have, as I know it's gross and he's hurt you, but even David Montgomery, who's been really bad, he's playing the worst run defense in Detroit.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to keep giving him the ball, and you just got to hope he's going to go into the end zone. And that's the kind of plays that I'm seeing would be a better option for you than Devonta Freeman to take that chance, because he'll what he's going to do is he's just going to mess it up for everybody, because they'll probably still mix in Olsen, they'll still mix in Brian Hill. And I think there's not going to be enough production there with that Saints defense to be a start.
Yeah, no, I believe you there. That's good. That's good. David Montgomery, just slide it in there. I think you'll have a great Thursday coming in. All right, so I'll go to my swipe right. I'm starting Miles Sanders because my number one fantasy rule this year is start anybody against the Dolphins. All right, and
it's worked pretty well.
It worked very well. But another thing going in Miles Sanders' favor is it doesn't look like Jordan Howard is going to be suiting up this week.
Yeah,
I mean, we still got a couple more days here, but we haven't seen any report showing.
But what about Jay Ajayi?
I think he's just there to stand on the sideline. He's hardly getting really in there.
Yeah, and when he does, he looks
bad. Yeah, that's just like that's just more depth, and because he knows the playbook, they brought him back. But I think it's Miles Sanders because he can be there for all 3 downs, which we don't always see out of Philadelphia. They like mixing them a lot, but I think he's going to be primary back. He'll get you double digits this week. So swipe right on Miles Sanders. Swiping left here on Carlos Hyde against the Patriots.
That's the other one. You got Miami, you start everybody. New England, you got to think about sitting everybody.
You're thinking about that. And it's extremely tough defense to run against. And I'm expecting Duke Johnson to get more snaps in the backfield because he's much better pass catcher out of the backfield. And I just feel Deshaun Watson's going to be using that a lot more than turn around handing the ball off. They're going to try to make Watson throw on them and take away one part of the offense, which is the run game. So that's the running back position here. Sean, let's go to the wide receiver spots. Who are your 2 guys here?
Well, I'm going to take from your rule here, and you start everybody against Miami. And so Alshon Jeffrey.
This has to hurt your Dolphin pride.
No. My Dolphin pride is at a very minimum, so there's not much there to hurt.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, so Alshon this week, I think you can put him in. It's a risky one. So if you got some better options,
Alshon's been risky all year.
Yeah, you want to go risk averse. I've got no problem with that. If you need an upside play, and Alshon, this is contingent on him practicing in full the next 2 days. I think he got a full practice in today. And he was really close, I think, to going. There was like that weird report that he was supposed to play, and then all of a sudden he was iffy. So I think it's just the coaches got gun shy, and they're like, we need to give him one more week. So I think he'll be in there this week. And like we've said, the Dolphins are awful. I don't even need to go into, why you would start them against this defense. It is one of the worst one of the worst secondaries in the NFL. So I think if you need that upside and he's been in your IR slot, you can just stick him right back in there because this matchup is just too good.
Right.
And then I'm going to swipe left. I'm going to sit Cortland Sutton. So this is the other Bronco.
Oh, yeah?
I'm going to start Lindsey, but Cortland Sutton, I am afraid with the Drew Lock thing. He's a rookie. He hasn't really been able to get the reps in because of this injury. If Lock is in there, I think that's really going to cap his upside. He's playing the Chargers, and Casey Hayward has just been shutting wide receivers down. I think he was injured for part of the year, which kind of hurt their ranking. But lately, they've just been completely shutting down wide receivers.
Now, if the Broncos roll out Brandon Allen again for another week, does this change your mind?
Slightly. I think you can flex him at that point because you've seen there is a rapport. He does tend to lean on Cortland Sutton. He's a great receiver, so he can make plays, on his own. But I would still see there's probably other options that I would go to before that. Let me pull up the wide receivers here, kind of give you guys some context for where I'm thinking about Cortland Sutton. So if you've got somebody like a John Brown, I would start John Brown over him. If you've got somebody like Devontae Parker, he's been real steady, and he continues to have these good matchups. Philly's secondary isn't that great.
You're stealing my thunder.
Well, yeah. So let's just move on. Go ahead. Sorry to steal your thunder.
Going to Devontae Parker, he's my swipe right. I am starting him because, with the injury to Preston Williams and going against a weak Philadelphia secondary.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a lot of, even if it's garbage time.
Well, that's what it is. It's the Dolphins.
And he's been averaging over 10 targets the last 3 weeks. 10, like I was like 11, 10, 10 or something like that come the last 3 weeks. And it's really that change up. Even bringing in Allen Hurns hasn't changed anything.
Yeah.
Parker is kind of stepping it in into that role of being the primary mop-up duty wide receiver.
Yeah,
and I think
he's looked good this year. Like I don't know why he waited until we're a terrible team, but he's finally looking like close to a first round wide receiver.
You changed the coaching up a little bit. They went to a quarterback that wants to sling it and will sling it with confidence. And it might boom, for him. He might actually catch on, and he's still a flex option.
Yeah,
I think there's other receivers start at your wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, but he's a phenomenal double-digit guy this week.
All right, so
flex.
I got a hard one for you here.
Okay.
So we had a gooser this week, Amari Cooper, at wide receiver. So there's going to be a lot of people that are probably going to be thinking, Devontae Parker's been killing it week in, week out. Should you start Devontae Parker over Amari Cooper this week? He is playing the Buffalo Bills, Trevarius White, who's been fantastic corner.
Phenomenal.
Is that something you might consider in this playoff, push matchup?
I would not.
Okay.
Because you look at the factors outside there, that were in New England. Sideways rain, 30 degrees.
Yeah.
Your quarterback was messing with his glove all night trying to figure out how to feel the ball.
Okay.
And that one interception that Gilmore had where Prescott tried to sidearm it in there was ridiculous. Diving, one arm, turn. I was like, he was blanketed all day. Yes, he's got a tough Bills defense to go to, but this is in Dallas. From what I've seen, the weather reports are fine on turf, so I think he'll have a good revenge game. He's still going to have a tough day, but I think at worst, him and Parker might have the same stat line. At worst for Amari Cooper.
Yeah, which is Cooper's also just one of those, like we talked about with Julio. He's just has so much upside. You can't. I mean, he could be the wide receiver 1 on the week, and you can't leave that on your bench.
Right.
And then just one more here for you that Kenny Golladay against Chicago tomorrow.
Yeah, I put Parker over Kenny Golladay.
Okay. Yeah, so that's kind of where I would be at too.
It's a Driscoll thing too.
Yeah, he's a hurting man right now.
He is. Oh, one of my leagues, I got Danny Amendola as a wide receiver. Non-shout out to my brother Mike in his 14-team league with like a 4-man bench. My dad won in that league this past week with 3 open spots on his roster, starting lineup.
Oh my god!
He beat a guy there because he had he had Vikings, he had Dalvin Cook and Rudolph, and can't remember the other guy, but these were legit starters. But the way the thing kind of went around, he's like, I would have to drop some of these guys. And he's like, you know what? I'll just ride it. I'm good in playoff contention. And he still won this week with 3 open spots.
Yeah.
And it's a competitive league. It just happened that way. But anyways, yeah, so that'll be a little tough there. But let's go right here to my sit. I'm swiping left on Hollywood Brown. He had a fantastic, no. Lamar Jackson had a fantastic Monday night.
Yeah.
That was a clinic. But Hollywood Brown with those 2 touchdown catches still was only 40-something yards. I just don't see a repeat for Hollywood there. Against San Francisco, I think this is where Lamar will have his toughest test.
Okay.
And so I would say, guys, if you're sitting there, again, this is no more bye weeks. Everyone's in. You're putting the best of your best in the lineups. If you're looking at rankings are true because they've got everybody there that's healthy and available to play. And you're probably going to see Hollywood take a few steps down.
Okay.
Because the matchup is just not favoring him. And it's because I think Lamar is going to have to do a little too much to win. And it might be a little sloppy for him because that's a great defensive line. And, the Rams couldn't touch Lamar. And they were bringing all-out blitzes. And the 49ers don't need to do that to put pressure on Lamar Jackson. It's going to be a great game. Can't wait to watch that one.
All right, and then our waiver wire quarterback, if you want to tell the people about this guy.
Hey, mono man himself, Sam Darnold.
This was, I think, our last week one as well.
Yeah.
Keep rolling with
just
him.
keep rolling with it. I was looking at this, go in here. I was like, no, Sam Darnold. He's not, he's projected as a QB 10, but still, he's not everyone's, number 1 QB. So that's why he's a waiver wire pickup because he's playing Cincinnati, who I can throw against right now, it seems like. So start Sam Darnold coming off a great week against the Raiders.
Yeah, he seems like he's finally getting back into football form here. He's had a rough couple. I think he had a good game against Dallas on his first game back, and then he's had a couple rough ones. But it's kind of looking like the Jets starting to click on offense again.
Yeah, Crowder, Robbie Anderson.
Even Demaryius Thomas was getting in there.
Oh, my goodness. Those are good for you if you're looking at flex options because I would only flex Jets players right now.
Yeah.
But outside of Griffin at tight end, he's come around of nowhere.
And a little bonus for Sam Darnold there is he gets to play Miami next week. So he's a twofer. You can pick him up, play him this week, and then play him against Miami the following week. I've got a couple leagues where that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, if you don't have that legit guy like a Mahomes type, the waiver wire, get Darnold. He could win you a championship.
All right, let's go to our turntable segment.
So peaceful music when it starts.
Well. How the turntables
have turned. All right, these are players who we're picking that buck the trend, either better or for worse. One little shout out, one listener telling me how much he just loves our drop on the turntables. I mean, you have to be a super Office fan to just laugh at it because you just think about that one scene where you're like, Michael Scott, are you finishing that statement? And it just stops. So let's go to you, Sean, here, because you've got a guy that is, everyone's darling this season.
Yeah, so he's kind of the darling of the draft. People grabbed him at the very end of the drafts. Tight end, Darren Waller, and he delivered the start of this season. He was just getting you also. He's just the target share has just been insane for him. But over the last few weeks, it's about week 7 was his last big game.
Yep.
It's kind of been rough. I mean, I've have him in 2 leagues, and I started looking at the waiver wire last week thinking, can I get anything better here than Darren Waller? So this is to say, I think he's about to turn it back on. That's,
Okay.
I think, where we're headed. Hunter Renfrow got hurt this past week, and there's a direct correlation between his targets, Darren Waller's targets going down as Hunter Renfrow was emerging. And so now that, we won't have Hunter Renfrow in the lineup anymore, I think that Waller takes back that target share, and he just becomes a safe option for you through this playoff run.
Yeah, Renfrow was that check down when people were game playing Waller, and Carr was going to Renfrow there a little bit more. And yeah, I believe that those shares will go up.
Yep.
It stinks. Sorry, Renfrow, if you're a listener. Probably not. But yeah, thank you for your injury, because Waller is going back up charts there.
Yeah.
And so I got my guy bucking down, and this should be an obvious one, but it's more of a warning here. Jared Goff.
Yeah.
If you're going into playoffs now, Jared Goff is going downhill and downhill fast. Everyone's figured out the Rams' offense, it seems.
Yep.
The offensive line is not what it was last year, and Gurley is tentative every time he runs through a hole. But also, his weapons cannot stay healthy.
Yeah.
He has a phenomenal receiving core, but they're a shell of themselves.
Yeah.
Especially from last year there.
They're all playing on one leg.
They are. And, and Goff is going down a lot of people's weekly rankings, but I know that he was a draft pick for almost every league.
Yeah.
That was somebody's QB1. And hopefully you've dropped him. He should be dropped, and pick up a guy like Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
All right, a Baker Mayfield going into playoff stretch.
So a little insider information here. This week, I was on the phone with Morgan in our league, and he had Jared Goff. And now I'm really regretting this because he kicked me out of a playoff spot because of this. But I was like, dude, what are you doing with Jared Goff? I mean, I know he's, last year, the shiny toy. He was fantastic. That Rams offense was kicking on all cylinders. I was like, you need to look at his game logs. He has been trash. Like, get that guy off your lineup. So I told him to put in Driscoll.
Oh, man.
It wasn't pretty, but it was definitely a better game than Jared Goff had this week against the Ravens. And now I don't have my playoff spot anymore because Morgan took it from me.
Morgan won. That's like the hardest part. You don't know the pressure that we feel sitting here giving you guys this golden free advice. Next year you'll have to pay to subscribe. No, you won't. And then it turns around and it beats us because it wasn't even a head to head. It was a playoff position in your league. Because
he played Phil, and I definitely wasn't angry that he took down Phil, but
I know, right? I mean, it was an upset victory there, but then you didn't do your job and beat Ryan.
Yeah,
I didn't do that last week, and
well, that's for the 757 podcast.
Listen to the next podcast, and you're going to hear us just try to figure that out. But yeah,
that's what we got for you guys this week. Thanks for listening. Enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Go play some football, go watch some football, and eat lots and lots of food.
Yeah, good luck on that playoff stretch there. All right, guys?
All right, see ya.
All right, deuces, Tim.